Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bears on Tap, a podcast about the Chicago Bears presented to you by the On Tap Sportsnet. I'm your host, Brandon Suarez. You can follow me on Twitter at Bdon300. You can follow my co-host at Ron Luce at Luce on Tap, and Joey Ricotta at The Riot 326. Today, little Monday fun day. I passed out with the lights on, with the socks on, sitting up like an old man, like a terrible person that I am. But halftime of the Monday Night Football game, our Bears played last night. First half looked like the Super Bowl to me. They looked probably as good as I've seen them in any half all season long. And then the second half was the exact opposite. And kind of like, I remember one of the main points that we tried to hammer home was like, let's just make sure the coaches make the right decisions in this game. And boy, did they not do that. And players obviously didn't make the plays out there on the field in the second half, thus leaving us with a 45-30 loss at the hands of the Green Bay Packers. Initial thoughts on the game, Ron?
It's just disappointing. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed because that's how I feel about this team right now. That's really where we're getting with things because you've got Matt Nagy week in and week out. And yes, I agree. There was plays in the second half that needed to be made by players that you expect to make those plays. But when literally your entire game plan in the passing game is 4-yard curl routes every single play, and then you don't make a single adjustment after the half, and Montgomery gets one rushing touch in the second half when you have a lead, it's been the same story all season long. Abandon the run in the second half. Do something stupid, do this, do that, not go for a 4th and short like he didn't do. There's been no changes. This dude doesn't know how to make adjustments. And it's just, it's absolutely mind-boggling.
4th and a fucking meatball marinara, and you don't go for it with, your season's already over. And, I mean, it honestly was justice that they just shoved a 9-minute drive down our dick and just called it a game right then and there. But, Joey, where you at on this one?
I mean, you saw it coming. You know what I mean? We saw it coming after the end of the first half, even though it was we had high hopes. Ron's disappointed. We're all kind of disappointed. I mean, I'm pissed off. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to be the voice of reason on this show because I'm fucking pissed because, McCaskey 3-19 against the Packers as chairman. Yikes, brother, yikes, from our buddy Cody. So, dude, it's just mind-boggling. You knew what was going to happen, and you mentioned the field goal, going for the field goal there instead of going for it. You absolutely just shit down your leg. It's just you got to go for it. Show some fucking balls. I don't get it. The Packers started rolling in the second half because they made the adjustments, like Ron mentioned, and the Bears. We have a coach, unfortunately, who he's the TV dinner specialist. This dude, he honestly, he does not know how to cook. He does not know how to make an offense cook. This dude, he needs to be sent to the Culinary Arts School Institute of America or some shit to learn this, and then be sent to Presbyterian to coach. So, anyways, that's where I'm at. This is fucking.
No, he needs to go to Bishop Sycamore. That's where he needs to go. But I mean, anytime you get 27 points in a football game, right? You should have a chance to win that game or be in that game late. And again, 45 points is never a recipe for success to winning football, but I feel like almost all of their touchdowns or the lead up to their touchdowns were all off big explosive plays. Like the Aaron Jones touchdown in the third quarter, the touchdown, I think it was Devontae Adams was the one right before the half, to make it 24-21, and then we got the late field goal. But Fields played pretty well. He ran the ball well, like we talked about with the design runs. He finished the game with 71 yards. Going away from the running game, instantly panicking after giving up, because obviously, the natural progression of a Bears game is to give up a lead and then go 3 and out for the next 3 fucking drives until we're all just ripping our hair out. My hat is suffocating my head because it's flipped inside out and I look like an idiot, but I wanted that one. Obviously, we all bet on the game for them to win the game, but against the Packers, you just, as a Bears fan, want to be able to win those games. And when you get contributions from wide receivers 4 and 5 at the level that we got, there's no excuse to not be able to get other guys like Robinson and Mooney involved in the game plan, to keep David Montgomery, who, by all accounts, with his hands on the ball, is the most aggressive and explosive, like I guess you would say, runner. Like, if I trust him with the ball more than I do anyone else on that team, I guess I would say. But just an absolute fucking fumble job by Matt Nagy, who, as you all saw right before the half, was having a grand old time, was having a whole lot of fun, like he's the fun guy, Kawhi Leonard. And it's just like, read the fucking room. Yeah, at least Nagy had some fun. Read the room. Figure out the whys, right? You talk about the whys every single week. Figure out why you're only up by 6 in a game that you've dominated the entire first half, and figure out how to extend that lead instead of playing to stop the bleeding and playing to not lose by a lot and still losing by a lot. Because I think one of us said, or if not all of us said, like, they'll probably do the thing where they stay in this game for 3 quarters and then just die. Exactly what happened. Like, it's just, it kills me. I hate it.
It's terrible. And honestly too, like, this is first off, I need to share this from our boy Lab, who also told us hello earlier about Peter Bukowski.
Yeah, Peter Bukowski.
Peter Bukowski. But that was a good time. But and kind of along the lines of what you said about like not getting Robinson in the play. And we talked about this a little bit before jumping on, but like, does he give 2 shits? Like, does he give a damn? Because like now it feels like his future with the Bears is totally gone. I mean, that play of like the block down the sideline on the Fields run is just all over Twitter today. And it's
horrible.
Like, but and you wonder, like, does that a product of coaching and but just again of like everything that I think people are calling for change for, that's in the front office and in the coaching staff. Like, is A-Rob just finally like, dude, I'm done here. This is stupid. He's like, because like he's hurting his next contract by playing the way he's playing right now. And like he had some chances to get in the game plan and like balls that he historically caught, glancing off his hands and out of play, like, not trying on a couple of instances when like he could have gone up and at least tried to contest a ball. Like it feels like he doesn't even care anymore.
His play was the last play before the ultimate punt call.
Right.
It was a nice play by him. I think maybe the only nice play all night where I was like, oh, wow, A-Rob's actually playing a football game tonight. But –
and that went away real quickly.
Yeah, no, and then you just – I don't know. As someone who loves a nice slobber knocker game where your receivers have to block and you need blocking down the field from them to create some shit, Ron, I know you can respect that. To see that, like you said, in a contract year – and the only thing that I can understand is the voice of reason in that like contract year is like, yo, I don't want to get hurt. Then don't fucking play. If you're not going to play 110%, if you're going to mail it in, I almost just like burped like super loud. I don't know how I held that one back. But if you're not going to go 110% and give us everything you got, then don't even put the fucking jersey on. Like, I don't want to sound like a rotten fan, but I'm going to be a rotten fan. It's like, we all loved Allen Robinson. If you listen to this podcast or to you guys in articles or just look at your fucking tweets, if you just type at Allen Robinson, I'm sure there is a lot of positive, but in the last 6 months to the last year, he's just been a cancer and a diva. And like, you don't want to see him acting like that in front of guys like Darnell Mooney, who for right now is getting paid peanuts, but at some point is eventually going to want some real money. So I just feel like, as a professional, you should hold yourself to a higher regard. And as a professional, you should want to perform better, like Ron said, because you're not going to get paid as much money playing like this. You're only hurting yourself. You hurt us, too, by playing like shit and costing us yards and whatever you will say about it. But at the end of the day, people are going to pull the tape up on that, and the value is only going to go down. He said he wanted somewhere north of $18 million. He's a $14, $15 million a year guy. And that's still a shit ton of money, but it is what it is. And I know it's only his first game, but I was not happy at all with Tevin Jenkins' performance. And that you can attribute a lot to coaching, because you don't put that guy in that position if he's truly not ready. He was getting holding calls, offside or false start calls. He was getting beat at the point of attack. And I understand it's his first game of his NFL career, but maybe wait until we play the Vikings. Maybe wait until it's not the fucking biggest game on the schedule. Could that the moment could be too big for him.
Yeah, I mean, like Tevin Jenkins, dude, he looked okay at the beginning. Like right out the gate was like, okay, this is all right, and then just all downhill. It seemed like from there. Like you got the holding call, even on the play, the forced fumble. Like dude got wrecked and he held on that play. Like how do you get wrecked and you held? You got a holding call on you, and you still got fucking demolished and gave up a forced fumble, a sack fumble. Like you just
the double whammy, not just a regular sack. Like Fields got absolutely eviscerated, and if he had a quarter of a second more, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Darnell Mooney was probably wide open on that route. Just like how the cameras cut that part of the view off, like you don't get to see it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling the way that game was going, the way Mooney wasn't getting involved, that may have been the one that he could have popped one. But of course, he's picking turf out of his face mask.
Yeah. No, yeah, and that's the thing. Like back to the A-Rob thing, real fast too. Like, dude, that one contested ball really just pissed me off at the end of the game. I know, like, it's the chances to win at that point are slim to none, and like everybody's freaking out over the block, the attempt that he didn't make, and he just kept jogging to the locker room or whatever. Like,
yeah,
didn't give a fuck. But get your hands up, like, go for the ball. Like, what are you doing? And like, yeah, you're diminishing your value at this point. Anybody that gives him more than $16 million is probably just like, I don't know where your logic is in giving him that money after the season, because we saw him perform with worse quarterbacks than Justin Fields. So it's like, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but like, wasn't he a pretty decent blocker before this season, like as a receiver? Because we've had some good blocking.
He was an effort guy. That was part of his mantra. That's who he was. He was an effort guy.
And like we've seen like really good blocking receivers with the Bears. Brandon Marshall, terrific blocking receiver. Allen Robinson, to me, he had that dog in him. Like he had that fight. And it's like, yeah, he's not the fastest dude. He's a crisp route runner. He's always going to make the catch. We've seen on countless occasions this season where he's just, the effort's not there, and he just drops passes. Like, how do you just drop that ball right there? That's your Allen Robinson. Like, you're not as good as you think you are, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
just like we got great comments here too from people, like from Scott too. Oh, he's 100% checked out. He said Scott says A-Rob was done with the Bears last year when he had 3 touchdowns in his hands. Like, but like
that's a great point, Scott. Great point.
Like, but that's kind of what it is. Like it feels like he is checked out. Like he's just like, all right, like this is ridiculous. And maybe some of it has to do with the fact that like the front office didn't he didn't feel appreciated by the front. Who knows? Like who knows the entire story? But like he is certainly not playing like a dude that like wants to either A, be here, or B, like even give himself a chance to be here, because like, he's just not doing anything right now. And that lack of effort's there. And I agree, like that was what he was known for. Was like being that effort guy that like really well respected in the locker room. And like, I feel like when that kind of guy changes, that just shows the state of your franchise.
Exactly. Yeah. When you lose that type of guy who's like, because I'm sure none of us were ever like the best player on our team. Ron, you may have been because you played some college ball, but no. I know I wasn't. So like I had to make up for that in effort and in heart, right? With Allen Robinson, the thing that I guess frustrates me the most is like you said, it's stuff that we're used to seeing him doing. It's not like we're just being assholes on Twitter, just pointing out and yelling at the clouds. The stuff that we're seeing this year is uncharacteristic of what we've seen from him as a Bear, as a Jacksonville Jagoff, and as a Penn State Nittany Lion. You like how I slid that one in there? But you feel me? Like he has always been an effort guy. He's always been a hard-nosed guy. And to see that he's completely lost, that is a heart thing. You have to question, like, how many other guys in that locker room feel that same way? You know what I'm saying? Because he can't – it's a football locker room. There's no way he is the only person in that locker room that feels that way and packs it in on a play or two. And I'm not calling anyone out in specific, but I feel from our standpoint as a podcast, we said we want to see some great individual performances. Justin Fields played pretty damn good last night. I think he made the throws. He looked good on the runs. And we got a lot of production from guys like Jakeem Grant and Damiere Byrd that we just don't get a lot of production from. I mean, that punt return that that Jakeem Grant had, was some shit straight out of a video game. It was 96, 97 yards.
97.
He was dead in the water. I don't know if you guys – I don't know what the name of the Twitter page is, but they do radio calls and they sync them up to the play.
The Joniak one?
Yeah, I listened to the Joniak call. Joniak's the best in the game, and it's not even close. But
he's in trouble at the 5.
Yeah, he's in trouble at the 5. Dude, it's you like a play that quick, you can't even 35, 40. You can't even keep up that quick. You know what I'm saying? He's running that fast. One thing that we haven't seen from this team is the ability to use those gadget guys, right? Like they throw it to Tariq Cohen on 3rd and 9 in a contested 50-50 ball. They didn't know how to use Cordero Patterson, and Cordero Patterson is going to make the Pro Bowl and like a top 10 player in his position in fantasy football. He doesn't even play there's no way he plays a majority of the snaps. So to see that they're finally I'll give my one praise of the week, to see that they're finally making use of these guys that get one catch for 7 yards a week and they have no use of the offense, that was encouraging. To see the way that Justin Fields played, that was encouraging. And the way the defense played in the first half up until maybe the last 6-7 minutes of the second quarter, because that was just that game turned into a matching game real quick. I think there was 30 points or 35 points total in the second quarter between both teams. It was just boop, 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 boop. They have some soul searching to do. Kindle Vildor is not an NFL player. You cannot convince me that he's a real person either. And kind of like how we were with Frank Schwindel last year, but the opposite, the reverse end of that spectrum. And then too, of course, it had to be him on the punt that got the call. But yeah, when we can actually get the real Jimmies and Joes that need to be put in place to win, I think we can be a good football team. But are we going to put the right people around this young team? Remains to be seen. And like Cody said, what is it? McCaskey's 3-19 against the Packers. Is he watching the same game that we watch twice a year?
There's no way he is.
Yeah. So I don't know what
that also shows that I don't think he gives a shit either. We're sitting here talking about A-Rob not caring and this, that, and the other. Does McCaskey care? No. And again, this is that top-down issue of it feels like nobody gives a shit. And that's a problem when you're the Chicago Bears. You're the oldest NFL franchise that's still around to this day. George Halas is one of the original, creators effectively of the NFL. The original, one of the founding fathers, you could say, kind of. And it's and this team is the 7th highest ranked in terms of dollar value franchise in the NFL as well, at just a sliver over $4 billion.
And we also play in a goddamn porta potty. We don't even have a good stadium. Imagine if we had a real stadium.
Right. And yet, nobody cares in that organization. The Bears fans do. We're all a bunch of psychopaths. Guess what, guys? I'm going to go freeze my nuts off next week on Monday Night Football when the Vikings come to town. I'm going to go do that because I'm a Bears fan and I do care.
Yeah.
But I question if the people that are actually running and operating within the franchise give a fuck. And that really concerns me. And, I do enjoy when Alap chimes in here. He says, the McCaskies and Ted Phillips don't watch the game from the same prism we, the fans, watch from. They watch with lenses that show them only dollar signs everywhere. Yeah, that's all they care about is the money with this
Well, then
team.
we got to start taking the fucking money away.
But that's never going to happen.
Ron,
Bears fans are psychotic, just football lunatics.
Oh yeah,
and we'll do to them a Bears game is that.
It's a religious
cold
thing,
beer after work on a Friday. It just hits differently, and you can never match that high. That's what Bears football is to Bears.
But at the same time though, it's also I saw a tweet and it was the cycle. It's just especially for us, because we cover the team and we do a podcast, it's almost every fucking week where it's okay, we just lost. Now we have to listen to this Jag in his press conference on Monday where he's going to make no sense. Injury report comes out, kind of get a little bit of hope, get to the weekend, get to Sunday, I'm doing fat gift heads with Pinata Farms talking about how the Bears money lines to play, like stupid shit like that. And then, we get to Sunday and you could tell like when a team has that much more juice to begin a game, like you should still be in that game till the end of the game. But I don't know if you saw, they went to the sideline and it was like a still shot of Eddie Jackson. And I forgot who he was sitting next to, bro. But
Jalen
was it
Johnson.
Jalen?
Yep.
Those guys look defeated. And I'm not going to say like we're a team that has the yips or something right now, but they see the stuff that gets said about them. They read the shit. They know that their head coach is probably on his way out. And it doesn't matter what level that happens at. Everyone's job is up for the taking. And you should see a lot more hungry Bears down the stretch at the end of this season. With that being said, like guys that are literally playing for their next contract in this league to at least give us some watchable football, because the first half, I'll agree with the bald fraud. It was a lot of fun. There was, a punt return. There was great defensive plays. There was great plays deep down the field with our receivers, not even deep down the field, just yards after the catch. And you had that feel and that belief that, hey, yeah, we may suck, but I think we got your number tonight. And you were just hoping. You were like I know you guys were probably playing out all the different scenarios in your head at halftime. It was a very, very fast halftime show, I will say. But none
I'm
of
glad I wasn't the only one that thought that, because I didn't even leave my couch to take a piss, and I'm like, "Fuck, I gotta pee."
We need to stop and we need to extend, because we all said it on the pregame show. Aaron Rodgers is going to score 30 points come hell or high water. They scored 45. They could have had more than that.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I definitely agree. The first half was so much fun. It actually gave you some hope. We criticize Nagy all the time. In the first half, what he was calling was working for the most part. And for whatever reason, he abandoned the run game in the second half. He got away from it. But for a while, it's like, yeah, we felt like we had hope. Montgomery was ripping off some decent chunks when he had the ball in his hand. Fields looked good. He's getting around, the pressure and making plays with his legs, and some decent throws there too. And it's like the special teams obviously outclassed the Packers the entire game. And that's the one spot where we had the huge advantage. And even in the return game off of kickoffs, like Khalil Herbert had a really nice game in the kick return game. So, and we could talk about that, onside kick that you can't fucking take to the house. You can't advance.
Which is like, and even getting the onside kick, Joe, you're a big numbers guy. What is the percentage that they're able to even recover those this year? Because the number, it was already impossible to do it, but now with the new rules, it's even lower. It's like 11%.
Yeah. It might even be lower than that, to be honest.
It's gotta be lower.
It's so hard, man. It is really hard to get an onside kick, and Cairo Santos put that in the perfect spot. Khalil Herbert has obviously great speed, so he was able to track it down. And their special teams just sucks, but they didn't have anybody to really high point the ball over there. I don't really understand what they were doing or who they had set up over in that position, but that's another story. It's just super hard. So they played that perfectly, but it's like, when you really look at it, you don't want to rely on that. And it's like the fact that we had to rely on that just goes to show how big of a fucking jackass our coach is.
I will say, though, in terms of special teams, it was a great special teams game overall. But look at one of the best franchises in the NFL over the last 20 years. The New England Patriots care about special teams, and it makes difference. It wins ball games. Dude, I'm telling you right now, I played at St. Xavier University. We practice special teams more than any other university in our entire conference. But I'll tell you what, I can probably count off 8 games in my head over 4 years that we won because of special teams. And that's a game last night was a game that if the Bears play a better complete game, special teams might win them that ball game. And that's something that might cost the Packers in the playoffs, if we're being entirely honest. And fun fact, I just looked it up. It's just over 8% to recover an onside kick in today's NFL because of the rule changes. So it's damn near impossible. Yeah. Also, this is funny. I just want to chime this in, and I'll turn this back over to you guys. Excuse me, anyone talk shit about Floyd. Floyd had a interception in tonight's game. For those that maybe aren't watching,
so we can give hats off to Ryan Pace on that one because he got it right. He just wasn't used right here.
Correct.
So. Kyler Murray is not a quarterback.
No,
with his 7.02 fucking points, he just threw 2 picks since we started. We gotta stop the pod now.
That's because Ron was talking really great about him before we
Stop because he was balling in the first half. See, this feels like a bear. And you know what? This feels like last night. The Cardinals looked like a strong team, but because of their inexperience, you see McVay and the Rams, and McVay is one of those genius. Isn't LaFleur a disciple of McVay?
Did Floyd score a touchdown, or was it just a regular pick?
It was just a pick. But he almost scored. He took it 30 yards, and then he got again. Murray has saved himself twice on interceptions where he's made the tackle on the guy that picks it. So otherwise, it could have been 2 pick sixes very easily.
I big brain bet the Rams, but I had no intentions of cashing that ticket. And now I'm actually quite surprised to see that they're up by 2 touchdowns. I may win a bet. Boys.
There you go.
But
that's a plus. Hey, at least you'll be winning more bets than the Bears will be football games.
Yeah, bro, and fuck, man, I love our friends at Bet Rivers, but they got to have a whole nother sportsbook set up with how many Jags bet that Bears moneyline profit boost every week.
Probably just from listening here.
I'm glad they cap it, but yeah, I was a little drunk at the bar on Saturday, and someone was talking shit like, "You don't actually believe that," and I'm like, "Oh yeah." And yeah,
you let somebody talk you into it. You started betting with your heart, not your head.
Oh yeah, and this head is giant. So, but
I probably doubled your unit right in front of his face.
And I honestly haven't really bet the Bears too much this year. Last year I would just bet them every week, no matter what. And this year, I just don't trust that bald fraud. And yeah, Joey, shout out to you for that. The 1.5 touchdowns. I think that was probably the most fun and easy bet I've ever hit in my entire life, where it's just all right, we hit it by halftime. Now we hopefully win a football game. But the Vikings, this upcoming week, interesting matchup. It's going to go one of 2 ways. It's going to be this team is going to get old Yellered. They are going to get absolutely smoked because the Vikings are actually a good football team. Yeah, literally. The Vikings are a good football team, despite how much shit we talk about them.
Your analogy, you're trip me out. Yeah, I was not ready for that.
Because look at it like this, bro. Kirk Cousins is not a great quarterback, but he's playing his best season of his career this year, arguably. And then Dalvin Cook he's got to be a double dong guy, double dong Dalvin. He just doesn't get tackled. He ran. I didn't realize his stats until I saw after the game on Thursday. He had over 200 yards in his first game back, half a human. So
yeah, I don't even know how he's playing in that game, dude.
Makes no sense. But with this past week, I mean, fuck, I don't like giving out players of the game in a bad game, in a loss especially. But I just think that the performance that we saw from the back end of that receiver room is something that should at least leave us excited to see what their usage is going to look like moving forward. Matt Nagy not knowing, or I don't remember exactly what his quote was, but they asked him why he didn't use Montgomery in the second half, and he's like, I don't know. Dude.
It's the Urban Meyer interviews now.
Yeah.
It's so bad, man. It's so bad. He literally, and then talking about the first half, he was taking a celebration in the presser after the game too. He was like, "This is why we do it. This is why we coach. We do this because that's the type of success. We do it for the players. We do it and this is why we do this." And I'm like, "This is why we do what? You're such an egomaniac mostly every fucking week. You don't do shit for the players. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're not a bad guy. You're not Urban Meyer level of a bad guy, but don't sit there and try to act like you do everything for the players' success and all that. It's just not like that, dude. You stick to your scheme. You stick to your game plan, every week and never change. So I don't know. That pissed me off. And speaking of your point about the receivers, do they just IR Robinson and just be like, You do this dude
just tell
stepped
him to
out.
fuck off. Yeah, tell him to fuck off.
Like, let's play Demir Bird. Let's play Jakeem Grant the rest of the season over here with Mooney and just call it a fucking day.
Yeah, and I mean,
elevate Rodney Adams and give him a shot.
Why not?
For the first time in the Matt Nagy era, he has the Walmart brand of the Chiefs with all the fast, quick receivers. I'm not going to say that they're anywhere near the Chiefs because they're not. But
100% the Walmart brand.
He had, maybe even like it might even be lower than that, like JJ Fish or some shit. But he has the speed on the outside. He has the players that you can take the top off the defense. And the way that they were beating the Packers yesterday wasn't even that style. So it's like, when you finally trust Fields to throw the ball 20 yards down the field, when you can give us a spray chart where there's actually passes that go, to the outside and to the, deep middle, and show that you can trust your quarterback and he can go out there and make the plays, I think that we're in a good spot. But we're not going to do anything productive. We're not going to see anything that should be like indicative of who Justin Fields really is until we get the right head coach in front of him. Everything that we see right now should be taken like subjectively, where it's just like, yeah, he did all right this year. There were times that he looked terrible, and I'll be the first one to admit that. But until he's in the right system that caters to the type of quarterback that he is right now, it's not going to work out. And for the other players in that offense, who knows what type of receivers or what type of tight ends or tackles or whoever the fuck they want with the new head coach, because you know how coaching is. It's very political, and there's a lot of people that probably won't be back with the Bears is what I'll say.
Yeah, I agree with that. I really can only probably think of maybe 6 names that I can confidently say, like, oh yeah, no matter what, that dude's back. Like, Mac is one of them just because of his contract, if nothing else. I think Quinn is one too, but even with him, I don't know. They could move him and it could actually like benefit a cap situation and stuff. So like even he's up for debate. But like Mac, Smith, Johnson in terms of defense, and then offensively, it's Fields, probably Montgomery, and like maybe the like one of the rookie tackles. But like that's about it. That's all I can confidently say. Like even Mooney, depending on the team, I think Mooney stays at least through this rookie contract. But like you said, Bdon, who the hell knows who's back on this team next year? Especially depending on if a new head coach, and especially if it's a new GM. Like any guy that's on an expiring contract is immediately a candidate to not return next year. And I'm intrigued to see what happens. But again, like, do we have that confidence in this team for that to happen? Who knows?
Yeah, and I also have a buddy. You guys know Ethan, right?
Yeah,
dude, he was in the same row as Ryan Pace last night at the game.
That's wild.
Is the report true? Did he fucking leave early?
Yeah,
he did. See,
I
don't care. I don't care if he's fired now.
And he left pissed. Like he left like really pissed. I did ask because I wanted to know his reaction after the 4th down punt, or after the punt on 4th down, right? And he said he didn't look over at that time, but yeah, he told me that he left. And I don't want to get him fried his first game in the box, but that's just an observation. It's not what you see up there is law. The dude did leave. So
right.
And also too, he's a former football player. That's the thing that is the most frustrating of all this is the head coach is an arena football badass, a fucking legend in arena football. He wants to win football games. It's not like he's out here trying to purposely lose. He's just incapable of finding ways to rally the troops to win games, right? And Ryan Pace, another guy, good in those late rounds, but again, now we suck. We have no 1st-round draft pick next year. And this is the 2nd or 3rd time that we've done this with this guy. And what do we have to show for it? 2 playoff appearances, 2 first game exits, and a whole bunch of roster turnover and a lot of bad contracts with that roster. I think the Robert
a lot of bad cap management too, with all these deferrals of money and shit.
I think the Robert Quinn contract doesn't look as bad as it did last year because he looks a lot better as a player, and he is part of the reason why that pass rush is so successful. But when you're getting productivity out of guys like Bilal Nichols and Travis Gibson, it makes you wonder like why you even have to go out and pay big contracts like that. You feel me? So I'm very frustrated. I don't know which way to look like for as a Bears fan because it's just like what are you, Ron? You're what 26, Joey, you're what like 29. Throughout our entire 31, 32,
Yeah, yep.
Motherfucker, you look 30. Throughout our entire lives, bro, what is it? We just get that one-off year, like every 5 or so years. It's just a one-off where we're good, where it's exciting, where we win in ways that we shouldn't win, and then we just fall off the wagon. And for once in my life, I really just want to go out and say that I think this is like the most important period for the Bears right now with possibility of a new stadium, a mega stadium, a stadium that you can host March Madness, you can host the Super Bowl and have way more revenue getting events at as opposed to just fucking Bears games that nobody wants to go to anymore because they're terrible. I think that Blanton guy just got a catch. Shout out to my fantasy team that nobody cares about. But you feel
that makes me feel better about my dumbass advice too.
Oh yeah, no, dude. Not an advice guy right now. I told everyone to take the Bears. But with everything right in front of them, with a new head coach, with a brand new quarterback who looks very exciting and very promising, with a brand new potential GM, and with the thoughts of getting a brand new stadium. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is a very pivotal time for this franchise to get this right so that we're not in another 20 years or 10 or 15 years of misery.
Yeah. No, it 100% is. It maybe is the most crucial because now finally it feels like here's another reason it's crucial. It sounds like the team might finally sell. Like if Virginia dies, there's already been rumblings that the rest of the family is ready to just unload the franchise. So now you are at a point where, hey, to the new ownership group, like we have a team that looks ready to compete. We have a stadium that's top notch in the NFL. We have a fan base that's second to none in the NFL. Like that's all appealing to an owner that's probably going to be willing to spend more than what your team's worth because of all the assets that are attached to it. But now all of a sudden, if this team is absolutely atrocious, they're not filling up a brand new stadium every week. Not if it fits 85 to 90,000 people. It's real easy to fill up 61,000, but it's when you start getting to that fringe that you might have a little bit of a harder time. Like now is the time where this team needs at least have promise moving forward, because if it doesn't, that's really going to impact the next move as a franchise in terms of ownership. And it's going to affect the McCaskey's pockets because if the team's not as appealing, it's not going to sell for as much money.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too. Like, you would think that whoever's in charge, like right now, we know who's in charge, but I mean, whoever it is, you would want the team to be successful. That goes from the Caskies too right now, because if the team wins, let's face it, they're going to make more money, even though they already make a ton of money. So if they are all about their money, which is clearly seems like is the case, then you would want the team to be successful. Like, there's no other way around it. Like, there's no reason for them to just be okay with this like mediocrity and getting your shit stomped by the Packers every year. Like, it's just not acceptable. I mean, the fans, obviously, George is probably like rolling in his grave with this. Like, he has to be rolling in his grave. But I don't know, man. Yeah, maybe they do sell. And obviously that opens up a ton with the new stadium and stuff like that. And hopefully we get somebody in here that really does care about the product and doesn't care that they've just wheeled some money around and be like, hey, I'm willing to do whatever it takes and bring in the right people that are actually willing to run this organization and the team the way that it should be while still making some money, because you're going to make money no matter what with the Bears.
I was going to say, and that's another thing too that drives me nuts. Can someone please explain to me why owners don't think being a successful franchise, not only in the short term, but in the long term, and like structuring your team in such a way and like putting that effort in up front to get the right people in place so that you have a sustainable product for 20 plus years? Because like success equals more money. Like, sure, maybe every game's already selling out, but you're selling a hell of a lot more merchandise when you're winning games. You're selling a hell of a lot more,
Think about the playoff money too.
Right. And playoff money's a whole nother breed of money in the NFL. And like,
well, it's like people aren't going to not show up if you're winning. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Exactly.
Like if you're winning, people will come no matter what.
They're like that Arizona game, pack it every game.
That Arizona game, if they're winning, is packed no matter what, even though the weather sucked. It was not packed because of how terrible the weather was. I can assure you that, being there in attendance. Yeah,
people
it was
still leaving early cold. Too, right?
Oh yeah, people were. It was still pretty full at a kickoff, but like wasn't nearly what a normal Bears game is. Wasn't even close. But that in a winning season for the Bears, that's a packed house. People are going absolutely bad shit crazy, rooting on the Bears in probably the worst weather game of the entire season.
Yeah. And like going back to yesterday, I would have almost rather just been like out of the game in the first quarter than to lose the way we did. Like they always just find the perfect way to just break your heart where you're like, okay, we look good today. We have a chance. We could possibly pull this off. And then it's always just like a quick and sudden death. And
you would have rather have gotten Old Yellard is what you're saying.
Yeah, I would have rather gotten Old Yellard. And the way I'll say it is, I mean, dude, if we get embarrassed on Monday Night Football, like, what more do you need to see? Who the fuck cares about tradition? Because you clearly don't care about tradition because you're not winning football games. So I don't want to hear the tradition argument when they say, well, we've never fired a coach during the season. Change is not necessarily a bad thing. And with what we've seen from a guy that won Coach of the Year his first year and has gone all downhill since, it's apparent that he does not have the capacity to be an NFL head coach, at least not in a city in a huge media market, because they have eaten him alive, and he's lucky that they don't let Jags like us because I would be like the type of questions I would have cooked up to ask Matt Nagy every week. He would just be like, how did this kid get in here? Who let this fat-headed Jimmy Neutron-looking motherfucker into my press conference? You feel me? So, like, I don't know, man. I'm very upset that we lost yesterday, regardless of, like, people can say we need to lose for a draft pick. Bro, we don't have a first-round draft pick right now. Another year with no first-round draft pick in a really deep class, I think, and there's a lot of players in positions in need that we can utilize. And now, unfortunately, they're going to end up trading on draft day like they always end up doing. But we don't know what the future holds. And Khalil Mack is towards the end of his time with us. And guys like Robert Quinn are towards the end of their career. The way they don't pay people, it makes you worried that they're not going to pay Roquan Smith. Allen Robinson is gone. Like, I don't know if we're going to see, a backup team next year, like a replacements team round. I know you know that movie, but it's going to be a very interesting, next 6 to 8 months at Hallis Hall and at Soldier Field, because I don't see us winning more than 1 or 2 more games.
Yeah, I feel that, and I am just praying that I'm in attendance for one of them, since I get to see them play the Vikings both times this year.
Yeah.
But holy hell, man, it sucks because there was the excitement around Fields too, and there was the the hype, and there was some talent. Again, I agree, and I'll bring this up now. I do agree with the lap here. Pace the talent evaluator in the draft. That's his that's his strongest attribute as a general manager. His problem is all the cap shit and the contracts, and then clearly picking a head coach. But as a talent evaluator, no doubt he's very good at what he does. He's had good drafts, and it's just what do we do here right now? What is happening? How does it get to this point? And now you sit here and you go, are they going to waste the Justin Fields rookie contract era, and then he's going to get paid a ton of money, and they're going to be in the same situation as the Seattle Seahawks? I don't want that to happen. I want them to be able to at least have a shot with Fields while he's on his rookie deal, because if he does ball out over the next couple of years, but there's nothing else around him to help him, he's going to get a ton of money, and then they're going to have to be smart with how they spend. And, and that's where like a Ryan Pace would make a lot of sense in terms of talent evaluator. But guess what? He's going to be canned to the curb because he didn't get it right the first time around with 2 rookie quarterbacks on their rookie deals.
He's going to be doing fucking jawline photo shoots with that thick ass jaw.
From peeking around the fucking wall. Don't forget
with
that.
with the like 1 foot up, like coat over the shoulder, just all jawline.
I mean, I don't think Alap's really in that much of the minority, at least here. Like, I think we all 3 of us at least agree that we like what Ryan Pace has done in the draft in particular, and like finding some of these gems, and even some of the first round picks that he's made, like Floyd and Roquan. Like, those guys didn't. People say it fell into his lap, like with Roquan. Like, no, he still had to select the right player. Like, he got unlucky with Kevin White.
Look at Parsons.
It's very hard to draft. It's so hard to draft.
You have to be incredibly good to come up with as many hits as he has. So when I say I'm okay with firing him, like we were talking about earlier, it's only if that's what has to happen in their eyes. Like, they need to get rid of this guy in order to have serious change, and they want to completely wipe everything clean and start fresh with a new regime. But I would love if Pace was still around, kept the scouting department around, and had some influence there with the draft picks, because, like we said, he's done a great job there. So it's like, why wouldn't you want that guy in the building and have an eye for the upcoming talent? Like, if anybody can scout a gem or spot a gem in the 5th round or 4th round, it's Ryan Pace. So, and with our lack of draft picks coming up here, obviously we're going to be trading a little bit, but I would love to have him around still for that reason alone. Like, the contract situations, obviously you got to get somebody different to manage that, because he's been fucking horrible at it, and it's really put us back. It's set us back a lot. So for that reason alone, I'm a little bit fearful. He can't stay as just the GM, I don't think, but there's a way that he can stay around.
Yeah, and I think like just the current state of the Bears is we will probably see a clean house, but not all of what has happened should fall on Ryan Pace's shoulders. Like, the people in the ownership group and the Ted Phillips of the world, like, it's a trickle-down effect. Like, you see incompetence at a level that high, like, I don't know, I'm not saying that they do it on purpose, but it makes the vision less clear, I guess you should say. And from our standpoint, for our sanity, bro, like, I really, really, really hope that if and when they do clean house, that they're able to bring in the right people, because at the end of the day, sports are just as much a people job as any other fucking job, if not more than any other job, because especially in a game like football, like, it can be so easy to go out there and quit and mail it in. Like, you've already made it to the top 1% of the top 1% by playing in the NFL. So that's why you see shit like you see with Allen Robinson giving up on some plays and some other players that aren't finishing plays. But I think, like, from a mental standpoint, this team has been lost for over a year. I wouldn't mind seeing new players like, I'm not saying like I hate the players currently on the Bears, but I wouldn't mind seeing new faces come in, both on the coaching staff, both in the front office, hell, even ownership. Even if there's an opportunity to sell the team, to put the team in a football-minded, businessman's opportunity or businesswoman's opportunity, all for it. Because right now we're just a fucking novelty. We are just a toy. We are just like your dad's '68 Corvette that sits in the garage or the driveway. Yeah, does your dad actually have one?
Yeah, oh, no, legit, my dad. Well, he sold it, but yeah, legit. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, though? Like, you go out to grab the basketball to go shoot hoops in your driveway, and that thing has had the tarp on it for 7 months running, and, like, it's very questionable whether or not the car would even start, that type of thing. I am tired of just the incompetence at the highest level, and I just kind of, like, want your guys' final wrap-up thoughts on what you want to see rest of the season, because there's only like 4 or 5 games left.
4, yeah.
What do you want to see from this bald fraud and his regime before we call it a season.
Just don't get Fields killed and at least let the kid progress. Let him take shots. Let him take risks. Like, what do you have to lose at this point? You're 4-9 already. You're already effectively mathematically eliminated, even though they're not technically eliminated, but you're eliminated. Let's be honest. Like,
No.
just put some of these young guys, and I know that like today they already said like Peters is going to start if he's healthy, and I'm fine with that for this year because Jenkins shouldn't be playing if he's not ready. Like I'm a firm believer in that. But like guys like a Larry Borum, guys like a Darnell Mooney, guys like a Justin Fields, like just let these guys play. Let them make plays because at least if you go 1-3 down the stretch here, but like you're putting up some points per game, and these guys are like showing meaningful progression for the future, do it. And like, sure, of course, they're not going to care if they're not going to be the regime that's going to be there. But like, these players want to be put in the right positions, and even these guys for their next jobs want to put them in the right positions. Because guess what? If Nagy doesn't put these guys in the right positions and tells them like, "Oh, well, we're going to sabotage the franchise," nobody's going to hire you. They're not going to do that. They're not going to give up. So like, just put your playmakers in positions that at least show some sort of promise and growth for the future. Because like at this point, the state of the 2021 season it's over. It's atrocious, and it's a season that I will happily not remember. Hopefully 10 years from now, when maybe the Bears are good, and maybe we can have nice things as a fan base.
I think we'll remember it as the Matt Nagy had fun in the first half of the Packers season. That's how we're gonna fucking remember this season, and that's the only way I want to remember this season, because the rest of it has been ridiculous. And obviously Justin Fields' rookie year, because hopefully he turns into just an all-pro, consistent, like Hall of Fame quality quarterback when it's all said and done. But I mean, I'm with you, Ron. Like I just want to see progression here. Like I thought Jalen Johnson before maybe the second half, they weren't really. The big play that was given up wasn't Jalen Johnson on Davante Adams, that one big play. But, like, I thought he actually did a pretty decent job on Davante Adams for the most part before that. And then people were trying to come at me on Twitter like, oh, that really lasted long because I tweeted something about nobody else should be on Davante Adams. And, like, what better options did they have? Like, really, like, it doesn't matter.
What you should have also put in the tweet is that there literally is nobody else that can guard him.
Dude, Eddie Jackson was fucking like. Sorry, go ahead.
Including Jalen Johnson. Like, nobody in the NFL can guard that man.
Exactly.
Nobody.
Exactly. So, like, you can't really be too upset about that. And he's going to learn also from his mistakes and try to get better. Maybe later on he can guard Davante a little bit better, which I thought, like I said, I think he started out pretty good on Davante, but as the game progressed, he wasn't as good on Davante. So I want to see Jalen Johnson. I like the quotes that he had that, there's things that he knows what he needs to work on to be that kind of shadow corner that some of these other guys are. So he's willing to do it. You like to hear stuff like that. And I want to see the progression with, like some of these other guys in the line too. Like I thought Bilal Nichols had a good game. For the most part, him and Robert Quinn were like teaming up there at the beginning, especially. I don't know, man. Like Travis Gibson, I want to see his progression.
Yeah. He's been playing really well.
He's been playing really well. And so, like, go ahead and let him just play pretty much every snap. Why not? Like, just let him out, let him eat, and the offensive line too. I mean, Tevin Jenkins, it's his first game, obviously, like really playing line, not special teams or whatever. So it's a tough spot to be put in. So I'm not going to like sit here and get down on him. Cause like there were plays that Cody Whitehair got freaking demolished by that Kiki, do you love me, dude? I mean, like what is going on here? Like, I don't even understand. Kenny Clark is like getting around, swim moving everybody else on the other side of the line.
Tevin Jenkins was getting mashed yesterday, bro. It was ridiculous.
He was getting mashed, but I mean, I'm just saying, like the line as a whole wasn't really that great when it all came down to it, especially like towards the end. So that really was a problem. So I want to see like who are your linchpins? Like James Daniels he needs an extension probably. So is Whitehair, like, is he sticking around? I mean, we got to figure this out. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of decisions to be made. So I just want to see how things play out and how everybody Whitehair obviously has been one of the better offensive linemen that we've had, but so I don't want to single him out. I'm just saying, you know, there's decisions that are going to have to be made by whoever's the next guy making them. But there's a lot to look forward to. Even though I said I wasn't going to be the voice of reason, I still think that there's a lot that that we can be positive about. Like Fields looks like he is legit, even though, you know, I talked about beforehand, there were some throws that he missed in that game that it's like, that's a learning curve for him though. Like that's a moment. Those are moments that you can take and be like, hey, maybe I just slow down a little bit here. You know, he wasn't an inaccurate quarterback at Ohio State. So like, and he still made a ton of plays. He kept them in the game, and he still made plays that other players can't, or other quarterbacks can't make, based on, you know, they don't have the athleticism, they don't have the quickness with his legs, and to get out of the pocket and still make those throws. So I like what I saw, obviously, from like Damiere Byrd and Jakeem Grant. Like, felt like Devin Hester was back in Chicago for a minute. I don't know. Let's see if we can keep riding this train a little bit and actually pull out a fucking victory next week. And Matt Nagy we don't have to fry an egg over his head in the next recap.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know, it is the Vikings, so I will have to make some sort of food bet with Summer of George, and I lost them both last year. So, and I lost the only one that I've done with him this year so far too. So, it'd be nice to get that short wearing motherfucker to eat some hot dogs or some pretzel sticks or some chicken wings or something. But I think for me, I just really want to see Fields get better. I want to see him finish the season healthy. He did get banged up also too last night. He did have an X-ray after the game. I don't know if you guys know that or not, but he did have an X-ray after the game. So,
and that shows a lot. Not to cut you off, Bdon. Like the fact that he was able to play that well with it, sounds like he was hurt like the whole game and like in pain.
He's the biggest team guy we have right now, I would say. He's a fucking rookie.
100%.
Like, you guys know how he was at Ohio State. You know, that game. I think his best game of his career was the game that he broke his ribs against Clemson. But
he balled out against Clemson.
I just want to see, for the people that will continue to be Bears in the future, I want to see those players have good ends to the season. Not saying I want to see anyone have a bad end to the season, but I want to see the players that will be a part of the future finish the season strong. For the guys that are like Allen Robinson that we're not going to have next year, I'm indifferent on. I want to see a little bit more from a production standpoint from Fields. Obviously, that will come as he continues to get his feet wet. He has continued to put up better performances week in and week out. And on the defensive side of the ball, I just want to see what we have out of whatever we call these corners and to see if there's anything salvageable. Otherwise, just get rid of them all. And let's maybe try to win a football game. Oh, wow, that might be offensive pass interference. It's actually a pretty good Monday Night Football game that we got going on. So if you did take time to sit in then on the stream and listen to the pain, and I think we all did a very good job at not being too overly like aggressive and like, yeah, I want Matt Nagy to never be the coach again. Like, I think everyone was pretty calm. If we went last night, I think there would be like pulsating forehead veins and like me and Ron would be like as red as Ron's shirt. But yeah, we've had a little bit under 24 hours to get over this one. It still hurts just the same, but we expected to lose. I don't think anyone expected to win this game, but it's just the way it happens. And to be honest, Monday Night Football, another primetime game, another chance to, you know, boom or bust or get embarrassed, another chance to have Matt Nagy quote cards. And for us that are the actual voice of reason, another chance for this fraud to get fired. So with that being said, do you guys have any wrap-up thoughts before we send this one off?
Reset next week. It'd be nice to see a win in person on Monday Night Football. That's all I've got right now.
Yeah, under the lights. Bare weather.
Oh, it's going to be cold, too.
Joey, for you?
Ron, have fun. I'm gonna have fun from my couch, and I'm praying for a victory for you, my friend. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
about it, and also let's hope that Artie Burns or whoever the fuck is playing corner on the other side, like Bdon said, somebody plays a little bit better against. Maybe Thielen plays that game. I don't know. Justin Jefferson. Whatever.
I mean, we were about to have to sign someone and send like the personal team jet to them at halftime. That's how down bad we were at the cornerback position. It was ridiculous. Like I was actually
Artie Burns, like literally, like he proved why countless times now. This in 3 games, why or whatever game, how many games he's played now, why this dude does not have a job. Like,
dude, it's like when you're mad that Xavier Crawford, or I don't even think that may be his actual name. Like, obviously, you're never happy when a player is hurt, but when you're genuinely distraught that like your cornerback 4 is going down, you should know what's about to come in the second half. And like, fucking Aaron Rodgers, like we are trying to build a team to beat the Packers, who have arguably the best quarterback of all time. And our corners couldn't cover us. So with that being said, we are Bears on Tap. You can follow us on Twitter at Bears on Tap. You can follow my guy Ron up here at Loose on Tap, and you can follow Joey at the Riot 326. You can follow me as well at Bdon 300. We'll be back middle of the week. I want to say maybe like Wednesday, Thursday. I may be heading to Orlando, so I don't know. Everything's kind of up in the air right now for me. But for the bowl game, for the Cure Bowl for NIU, but. It's another opportunity to win a football game in division. Like I said, what I said last week still stands. If you can find a way to win 2 out of 3 against the Vikings and Packers, which now they just had to sweep the Vikings, somewhat salvageable, but they were not able to win yesterday night. They find a way to lose that game 45-30, and we are on to Minnesota. Let's try and get Ronnie Boy a win in person this year and bear down.
Bear down.
Bear down.
Bear down.